We had been planning our wedding for months. Every detail, every invitation, every menu choice had been meticulously arranged. I had imagined the day countless times. The laughter, the vows, the joy of uniting our lives. My fiancée, Rachel, had been the center of all those dreams. Confident, vibrant, and adventurous, she always had a spark that drew people in. I loved her for it, and I trusted her implicitly. We decided to take a short trip together before the wedding. A last getaway to relax, enjoy each other's company, and finalize some last-minute details. I thought it would be a carefree weekend, just the two of us and the beauty of the small coastal town we chose. The first day was perfect. We explored the beaches, ate at cozy cafes, and laughed over small mishaps while driving along winding roads. Rachel seemed happy, relaxed, and in love. I felt lucky to have this time with her, away from the chaos of wedding planning. But things changed the second evening. I had gone out for a brief walk along the beach, returning to our room to find it empty. At first, I thought Rachel might be in the hotel lobby or exploring nearby shops. I called her several times. No answer. My texts went unread. Panic began to creep in, a knot of anxiety tightening in my chest. I asked the hotel staff if they had seen her, explaining the situation as calmly as possible. None of them had. Minutes stretched into an hour, and I realized the truth. She had disappeared. My fiancé, my partner, vanished without a word, without explanation, leaving me alone in a strange town. The shock was overwhelming. The plans, the dreams, the wedding, everything suddenly felt fragile, meaningless. I cancelled the wedding immediately. How could I marry someone who could vanish from my life without warning, leaving uncertainty and fear in her place? Friends and family were shocked, confused, and some were angry on her behalf. But I couldn't ignore what had happened. I needed answers, and above all, I needed to protect myself emotionally. The days that followed were a whirlwind of confusion and distress. I contacted local authorities, filed reports, and retraced every possible step she might have taken. Each lead felt promising, but every dead end compounded the fear. The reality was that Rachel was gone, and I had no idea if she would return. Then came the messages, cryptic texts from an unknown number. "Stop looking. You'll regret it if you keep trying," one read. Fear overtook me. This was no ordinary disappearance. Something dangerous was at play. The person I trusted most in the world had disappeared, and now, my life felt like a nightmare I couldn't wake from. Every phone call, every unfamiliar sound, every knock at the door sent my heart racing. Friends tried to comfort me, but their reassurances couldn't erase the gnawing anxiety. I became hypervigilant, obsessively checking news, scanning social media, and questioning every detail I thought I had known about Rachel. Weeks passed. The town we had visited became a painful memory, a reminder of the last moment I saw her happy and carefree. Each day brought fresh uncertainty. Questions consumed me. Had she left voluntarily? Was she in danger? Could our relationship survive the trust that had been broken by her sudden absence? Then, a faint lead emerged. A witness reported seeing a woman matching Rachel's description entering a car with tinted windows near the outskirts of town. My pulse quickened. Hope and dread collided, a confusing mixture of fear, relief, and anticipation. I worked with authorities, private investigators, and even contacted some friends she might have confided in. Eventually, I found her in a small town far from home, living under a different identity. Rachel's explanation stunned me. She had felt trapped by expectations, overwhelmed by commitment, and terrified of the responsibilities that lay ahead. Her disappearance was not malicious, she said, but a desperate attempt to find herself before our wedding. The confrontation was emotional and raw. Anger, heartbreak, relief, and confusion surged in equal measure. I realized that while her actions were deeply hurtful, they were also rooted in fear and indecision. Still, the trust we had built over years was broken in an instant. I couldn't ignore the pain, the betrayal, or the uncertainty of whether reconciliation was even possible. I decided then to step back. My wedding had been cancelled, and the life I had envisioned with Rachel would never exist in the way I had imagined. But I also understood that some experiences, as painful as they are, force us to grow. I had to process the heartbreak, accept the reality, and rebuild a sense of stability for myself. Over the following months, I focused on healing. I leaned on friends, family, and therapy to navigate the emotional fallout. I reflected on the relationship, the warning signs I may have missed, and the lessons I could carry forward. Rachel's disappearance had been a nightmare, but it also revealed the importance of boundaries, self-respect, and emotional resilience. Eventually, Rachel and I spoke again, not as a couple planning a wedding, but as two individuals trying to understand each other. The conversation was honest, sometimes painful, but necessary. I realized that while love had existed between us, it wasn't enough to overcome the choices she had made and the trust that had been broken. The experience taught me more than I could have anticipated. Life is unpredictable, people are complex, and sometimes the ones we love most can hurt us unintentionally. But even in heartbreak, there is growth. Even in betrayal, there is the opportunity to reclaim agency and strength. Looking back, the trip that began with excitement and joy ended in chaos and uncertainty, but it also became a turning point. I learned to trust my instincts, value my emotional well-being, and recognize that love cannot thrive without mutual commitment and honesty. The nightmare that began with Rachel's disappearance didn't end with closure. It left scars, but it also left lessons. I emerged stronger, more self-aware, and more capable of navigating life on my own terms. And while the wedding never happened, and the love we once shared was irreparably altered, I discovered that resilience and self-respect are far more enduring than any fleeting dream of perfect happiness. Life had tested me in ways I hadn't anticipated, but I survived, grew, and learned that even in the darkest moments, clarity and strength are possible. The pain of her vanishing would linger, but it would no longer define me. Instead, it became the story of how I reclaimed my life, faced betrayal with courage, and rose above a nightmare that could have destroyed me.